Strong again. Proud again.
Ever since he rocked up at Hughie's electronics shop gig and started working him over by making references to his late girlfriend and the idea of revenge, we've known that Billy Butcher was a bad man. There's no emotional string he won't pull to get his way in life, including jeopardizing the safety and peace of his friends and family. And now that he has a V'd-up tumour in his brain, Billy Boy is far more dangerous than he's ever been. In fact, he's so dangerous that he might just eclipse Homelander as the true villain of the series. And it all boils down to whether he pulls the trigger on the plan he cooked up at the end of Season 4, which involved a deadly Supe-killing virus. In this video, we're going to speculate on the answers to both of those questions and determine whether Butcher is worse than Homelander or not. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. The heart of a flawed and traumatized man. Why Butcher used someone we could root for. To explore who is more dangerous than whom, we need to track the trajectory of both Butcher and Homelander as the series has progressed. Butcher is a butchering bastard, and there's no professional or personal line he won't cross to get what he wants. His hatred for Supes is well documented, but in his very first pitch to Hughie, he hints at his belief that Supes are what's wrong with the world, and his personal mission is to get rid of all of them eventually. His primary focus is Homelander, sure, but he also doesn't do a great job of hiding his disdain for Supe kind in general. We see his indifference to Supe deaths surface rather starkly after Starlight and Kimiko join the team, because while he was never willing to put Hughie, or Frenchie's lives at risk, when it comes to Andy and the female, he's different. In his mind, they're assets to use, and as long as they prove their worth, he's fine with them hanging about. But he'll also not hesitate for a second before using them to achieve his true ends. Like when he asks Sandy to join the boys on a little caper, and makes it a point to state that he doesn't need her help, he needs a bargaining chip. Still, Butcher's humanity surfaces in relation to three characters mainly, those being Hughie, Becca, and more recently, Ryan. Becca is understandable because she was his wife, the love of his life, and he has convinced himself that he's doing everything he's doing right now to honor and avenge her memory. Butcher was content with using Hughie in non-lethal fashion at first, as evidenced by the many times he's made poor wee Hugh do things he has no expertise in. It was only after they took Temp V together that Butcher realized Hughie was getting addicted to the damn thing, and over the course of their journey he'd come to see Hugh as his little brother Lenny. Ryan is an odd case because initially Butcher was willing to write him off completely. When he found out Becca was still alive, he tried separating her from Ryan because in his eyes, Ryan was going to turn out just like his biological father. But she made him promise that he would protect the kid no matter the cost with her dying breath. Butcher was forced to spend time with Ryan, and he realized that the kid really was just a pure and innocent boy. Even as Ryan chose to side with Homelander, Butcher fought to protect him, particularly during the dust-up between him, Homie, Maeve, and Soldier Boy in Vought Tower. So, while thinks Butcher is a mother lover without a heart, the show has depicted several scenes where his heart specifically wins over his rationale of a Supe-free world being the ideal world. Homelander, on the other hand, has always been an insecure, tyrannical, power-hungry prick who can't be bothered to play by the rules of lesser men and women. The playing field is not level. Why Butcher is more dangerous than Homelander now. The only people who have power over Homelander are those he's trying to please, like Madeline Stillwell and Stan Edgar. He doesn't have the kind of authentic human relationships that Butcher does with Hughie and Becca, and once he realizes that he's being played by someone, even that instinct to please goes out the window, like those civilians from Flight 37. Homie only loves you because you love him. He only wants to please you because he wants your approval. Once he concludes that he doesn't need that love anymore, he will murder you with prejudice. And we haven't even mentioned how he treats those he views as being inferior to himself. He has always treated his subordinates like crap, lording over them and insulting them every step of the way. His treatment of A-Train and the Deep is abhorrent to say the least, especially that scene where he makes Deep eat an octopus precisely because he knows how much Deep loves octopuses. And if women only slept with Soldier Boy to humor him or out of pity, they don't even do that for Homelander. The only women he sleeps with are the ones that get his mommy issues going, and once he's done with them, he lasers their eyes out. Plus, the one guy he used to call his best friend, aka Black Noir 1, he killed with his own hands just for trying to protect him from his maniacal father and lying about his survival. So Homelander has pretty much always been a homicidal psychopath, and that infamous scene where he talks to himself is irrevocable proof. He even initiated a purge of all of Vaught's human employees right before the end of Season 4, when his puppet president declared martial law and handed him the reins of the US military. And the two people he genuinely cares about, Soldier Boy and Ryan, he's not above using violence with to get his way. He's already fought Soldier Boy twice, both times with the intention of murdering him. And while he does love Ryan, he only sticks with him because he's a reflection of himself. Now that Homie has officially become the guy who creates freedom camps to detain political rivals and activists as well as any and all of his enemies, he's more dangerous than ever before. And if he acquires V1 like the trailers suggest, then he'll also become unstoppable and far worse. But somehow, Butcher is worse than him, because Homelander might have never had a sense of morality, but Butcher has actively chosen to ignore his own. He might have been leaning towards Supe genocide as far back as when he got drunk with Maeve after using V24, but he knew that using an experimental drug wasn't going to help him achieve his grand objective, so he focused on his primary. He kept taking a V24 until he put himself in a position where he could have realistically killed Homelander, and if he had won that fight at Herogasm, he might even have a soul to speak of today. But after Butcher injected himself with the real deal Compound V and his cancer took on a life of its own, his thoughts became unfiltered and terrifying. Throughout Season 4, we see him struggling with the angel and the devil on his shoulder in the form of Becca and Kessler, and while Becca keeps reminding Butcher that there's still good in him, it's Kessler that he listens to the most. Kessler approaches Butcher with the idea of renewing hostilities with the Supes in extreme fashion, and once he figures out that Victoria Newman has been cooking up a virus to kill every Supe with V2 in their veins, the smile on Joe's face as he says global effing genocide is bone-chilling. But Kessler is Butcher, or rather the part of his brain that compels him to embrace the darkness, cut off a scientist's leg to make him give up his secrets, and then force that same scientist to make his lethal Supe virus airborne. So really, it's Butcher who's finally giving in to his desire for killing all of Supe kind, and this sets him apart from Homelander in a very important way. Say what you will about Homie, but the one thing he isn't going to do is kill all humans. He might have lost all faith in Sister Sage after the crap she pulled with Thomas Godolkin, but he still agrees with her philosophy on keeping followers around, because he loves being worshipped above all else. Homelander embracing the far right isn't ideological, it's emotional, and he needs those people around him forever so he can keep getting their love forever. The Vought Purge was to protect his people's interests and secrets, and as long as regular Americans pledge their allegiance to him, Homie has no problem letting them live, despite seeing them as cockroaches. But Butcher wants to kill every last Supe on Earth, including the ones that have become his allies, and he will go to any lengths to make it happen. Yes, he has reunited with the boys in Season 5, and Starlight, Kimiko, and A-Train are aware of his homicidal streak. But we're pretty sure that Butcher hasn't told them his entire plan, because it most likely involves killing them too. Spoiler warning, because everything from this point onward will take some joy out of the show for you. But in the comics, Billy doesn't even have the soft side he shows in the show. There, he's an unrepentant, remorseless killer who goes after his own team, because all the boys have taken V in the comics, and that technically puts them on his radar. And they weren't nearly as incompetent or as untruthful as Noir 1 or treasonous as A-Train from the show. He killed them simply because of what they were. Season 5 will give us the most comic-accurate Butcher we've seen till date, and Garth Ennis's Billy is the kind to command his dog to sexually violate another dog instead of just humping a doll. So while he doesn't want to take over the world, Butcher also doesn't want to leave it the same. He wants to transform it by culling a small but significant part of its population and force a reset, which has never worked in the history of mankind. Now that we've clarified the difference between the dangers posed by an insecure, immature man-child and a vengeful, ruthless wolf in sheep's clothing, let's talk about how Butcher will act on his dangerousness, because that's really the question that needs to be answered. How Butcher's release of the Supe-killing virus will change things forever, and will it succeed? In the comics, there is no COVID-19 inspired Supe-killing virus. Instead, what Butcher uses for his plan to mass murder Supes is a particular frequency that, when it resonates with a volatile strain of Compound V, makes its carriers' heads explode. He murders his friend and longtime ally, Love Sausage. Yes, you heard us right. To keep this plan hidden. And he uses several bombs to disseminate this volatile version of V throughout the world, aiming to use the Empire State Building as a global tuning fork. Had he hit that button in the comics, all Supes would have died like the people from that court scene, where Victoria Newman murders Jonah Vogelbaum and several other red-blooded Americans. But he was stopped before things got to that point. He still ended up taking the lives of his teammates to cover his tracks, but at least there wasn't a full-blown genocide. That might not be the case for the show, because it's already been made clear to us that the boys are on a timeline. They put Dr. Samir back to work on making the virus as virulent as he can, possibly airborne as well. But now that Homelander's looking for V1, whose chemical composition and genetic alterations are entirely different from V2's, they need to move quick if they want to ensure the surrender of all Supe kind. If Homelander takes V1, then using the virus will only confirm our assertion that Butcher is more dangerous than him, because he won't be able to use it on his primary target, but might release it anyway. And make no mistake, folks, the reason Samir Shah is back is because he's the man who perfected the Supe virus that was being concocted in the woods, and if the traditional channels don't work out for Butcher, he's not above taking Samir's other leg to weaponize the virus even further. Plus, Butcher's going to die soon thanks to his cancer, and the only way he can die with a smile on his face is if he achieves his primary and grand objectives. Yes, there will be no glorious head-popping explosions in the TV adaptation, apart from the ones we've already seen when Season 5 truly enters the endgame. But, at the same time, the effects of an airborne virus will be devastating for the Supe population, because this is a direct corollary to COVID-19, and you know how many people that virus took out in less than half a year. As for whether Butcher will actually release the Supe virus or not, the trailers certainly seem to hint that he will, because there's one particular shot in it where Frenchie is holding a test tube with a black liquid in it while wearing a hazmat suit. Those kind of suits are only worn in a combat scenario if someone is playing with a biological or a chemical weapon, and the only thing that fits that description in this universe is the Supe virus. Maybe Frenchie has conducted a controlled field test where he has quartered Supes with his friend's assistance and wants to see just how effective the virus really is. But if it's as deadly as Dr. Shah says it is, no amount of controlled experiments will be able to contain its dispersion. And most of all, the thing that makes us believe Butcher will at least get close to releasing the Supe virus, if not succeed at it, is the fact that he has a death wish for himself. He might just release the virus as part of a suicide plan, where he becomes patient zero to ensure that all Supes get infected eventually, but by and by we do expect him to do in the show what he couldn't do in the comics. He'll get much closer to releasing the Supe virus if he doesn't actually release it, and that will be the last piece of evidence that proves Butcher is the final boss of the boys after all. If he succeeds, he will create a Supe-free world and give humanity's fate back to them. They'll be free to do whatever they want with their future, and there won't be any stupid Supes around to interfere in their lives. But in doing so, he'll also become the greatest killer in human history, because unlike all other genocides, this will truly be a one-man job. It will be in that moment that we realize how diabolical Butcher really is, and we're hoping beyond hope that we won't get to see that day. But as for this video, that's all we've got for you guys, so now we've got questions for you. Who do you think is more dangerous, Butcher or Homelander? And do you think that Butcher will end up releasing the Supe-killing virus into the world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, like, share, and subscribe for more content from the Boys Verse. We will see you guys real soon with yet another video, so until then, stay safe, and if you see a suspicious man with a test tube that's oozing mysterious black goo, make like 2019, run as far as you can, and quarantine yourselves.